Alright, we're back once again. This is A&J here, and man, got some really interesting things to talk about here. We're gonna follow back up on all the information that's been coming in regarding the real reason behind Carlito and R-Truth's departure, and a couple of other departures. One that seems to have been confirmed, and another that just might also be on the way. And that one's going to be really, really surprising, but we're going to go into that here in a minute. We're going to start here again with talking about Carlito and R-Truth real quick. Yeah, I gotta say, this has been really interesting, to say the very least, as far as what's been going on with Truth and Carlito not having their contracts renewed. I mean, again, it's not overly surprising in either case. Maybe more so, obviously, in R-Truth's case, but more specifically because of the fact that, he's been there so long. How is he not being treated accordingly and so forth? And there are some things that have been pointed out that I want to go over here in just a second. But it turns out that the reason behind all this happens to be Triple H, which is crazy to think about. I mean, it seems all releases that end up taking place are coming from him. He makes a final decision on who he actually doesn't seem to want around or anything like that, and it seems to be what it is. A lot of us are going to feel a certain way about that. I know I certainly do. I would say that it's definitely disappointing from the standpoint, again, in terms of R-Truth. Like, he was there for so long. But, as it was pointed out, and I gotta say, this is the part that's actually about to surprise the hell out of me. Because I honestly have to keep from not wanting to just be a little temperamental about it, but Jonathan Coachman actually said some things that made sense. I actually saw a post. He said it was an emergency something or other that he wanted to put on there, but simply paraphrasing, he talked about how, with Truth being at the point that he's at with the tenure that he's had, there definitely is such a thing as a Legends deal. I don't know necessarily that's something WWE is planning to do, but I guess if that is going to be the case, we'll find out here maybe in the coming weeks, months, whatever the case may be. But for right now, it's just going to be interesting in his case, especially since you got a lot of people that seem to be wanting him to go back to TNA, namely Tommy Dreamer, who had a very, very interesting post. And man, it's just kind of wild to think about. But yeah, honestly speaking, it makes sense that Triple H is the one behind such decisions. I'm not going to take anything away from that, and I really don't even have that much of a problem with it. At least beyond the fact that maybe there are certain things they could have gone about differently. I don't know, but just knowing this is kind of wild, and especially given the other names that we got to talk about here, which include now Sarah Logan, also professionally known as Valhalla. This one, I probably am least surprised of any of these departures that are taking place. You figured when the War Raiders came back and they were actually done with being the Viking Raiders, they went back to literally being the War Raiders. I think it was a bit of a question then, will Valhalla, aka Sarah Logan, actually be a part of that? And to this point, she really hasn't. And there was talks that could be the case, but nothing ever materialized. Now she's actually on the verge of her contract expiring, and she will no longer be with the company as well. I don't know the exact date, but that's just something that's been confirmed. And again, this is a Triple H decision, which, to me, I understand it, but at the same time, it really sucks because I feel like Sarah Logan has so much to offer, much like R-Truth, and even Carlito for that matter. She's still relatively young, I believe, in her 30s, if I recall correctly. So, really, she can go any company that she wants to right now contribute. Will she be anything of a world champion caliber performer? Probably not. But at the very least, what I can say about her is hopefully if she is able to keep up wrestling, we see her and we see her fairly soon. And I feel like she could still be pretty successful no matter where she goes. But I guess only time will tell on that one. So with that, we're going to transition here, and we're going to do this a little bit differently than we normally do. I'm going to actually show you this post, but before I do, I just want to go into detail. As you'll see, I made the main part of this title a potential departure yet to happen sort of thing, or I don't know. I haven't really put that in there. Of course, I'm still in the recording process, obviously, but it's going to be something along those lines. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is this one's really, really interesting because of the post that I'm seeing here. Now, I want to preface everything I'm about to show you by pointing out that as far as I know, nothing has actually been confirmed beyond everything that I'm about to show you. This is actually a post per We Are Wrestling, and it actually goes as follows, and here it is for you guys. Alright, so breaking news. The Miz has unfollowed WWE and removed all mentions of WWE in his Twitter/X bio. His WWE contract does expire sometime this year. Wow. So, that in mind, let's go ahead and bring it back. Again, I don't know how many other sources have actually confirmed this, but I'm thinking there's a very good chance of this being true. And also for the fact that I vaguely remember hearing about the Miz's contract expiring fairly soon. I don't remember exactly when that was said to be or how long ago it was that I heard that, but I do recall hearing about that. I don't remember a whole lot in terms of details where that's concerned, but the reason I want to talk about this is that should this be the case, this is just as wild as what happened to Truth to me. I've actually had my best friend Darren, who I've mentioned on this channel many times. He's basically pointed out something that I have to acknowledge to the fullest now. Miz definitely was great in terms of the role he ended up playing. Of course, being a former WWE champion and everything that goes along with it, it's unfortunate because the only other title reign he had after that wound up not being so memorable because A, it was aided by Bobby Lashley, and B, was also ended very abruptly by Bobby Lashley. But at the same time, it was one of those things to where, similar to Truth, you figured he would have stuck around, been an ambassador, much like a Titus O'Neil as mentioned. That doesn't seem to be in the plans. I don't understand why that would be, but again, as I mentioned before, Jonathan Coachman did say there is such a thing as a Legends deal. Now, I could very easily see Miz being on said Legends deal, but the thing about it is if this is true in terms of him unfollowing WWE and removing all WWE mentions from his ex-Twitter bio, I don't know how likely that's going to happen anytime right away. And hell, who knows what's going to wind up happening if and when this all ends up being the case. Will he continue with wrestling? Does he retire? I mean, he's pretty well off financially. I mean, I don't see a situation where he really needs to do anything else with wrestling if he doesn't want to. I mean, it would be entirely up to him. I'm going to imagine he'd probably be more inclined to retire given the fact that his entire career was with WWE, and that goes back at least a couple of decades. And it's really unfortunate if this turns out to be the case, but it's looking like it's heading that direction. And yeah, it sucks. It really sucks. I definitely have an immense respect for The Miz and his contributions, not only to WWE, but just pro wrestling in general. And never mind the fact that before that, he was a cast member of The Real World. I mean, yeah, what more can you say about it than that? But that's where I'm going to leave it for now, because I want to wait to see if and when anything else develops as far as that situation is concerned. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to find words for it, and I really shouldn't be working for that. But anyway, like I said, I'll leave it there. Let me know what y'all think about all this. This is pretty wild. Shout out to those of you that have been checking out the recent videos, dropping likes and everything. Appreciate that. Can't say it enough. It definitely goes a long way. So if you would, definitely please drop some likes, share, follow, or share, subscribe, all that. And definitely let me know what y'all think down below. In the meantime, I thank y'all for kicking it with me, and I'll get at y'all.